Hi guys, David from Strength and Mind Body Performance Coaching. I want to talk to you today about actual programming. What should be in a strength performance style program? Well, obviously depending on what days or week you can commit to a program, it should pretty much be centered around movement patterns, primary movement patterns. I've spoke about this in another video, but you should be able to incorporate some form of explosive movement, and that could be in a form of plyometrics, med ball throws, Olympic lifts, as in hang cleans and so forth. They're very tricky. They're very technical. Once you get the technique down right, they can be very beneficial for any strength performance-based athlete. You need definitely some type of core stability work. Now, a lot of people think core is crunches and leg raises. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't ever get my clients to crunch. That puts your back in a compromised position. I don't like that roundness of the lower back and putting that stress in the lower lumbar area for the sake of crunching your abs. Yes, they flex, but they're also stabilizing muscle to stabilize the lower back, the lower lumbar area. So I always incorporate an anti-extension like a plank or an anti-rotation where I'm fighting against an external load. That also increases the stability of the external internal obliques as well as the transverse abdominis muscle, the inner corset style muscle of the abdomen. So power work first, like I said, plyometrics, med ball throws, Olympic lifts. Core stability work should be then probably followed up by a hip dominant exercise. For instance, RDLs, deadlifts done with more of a hip extension, single leg deadlifts, glute bridges, those type of where your glutes are fully engaged. So a hip dominant exercise, obviously a knee dominant exercise, which is a squat. I prefer split squats, especially with the heel raise. So a split squat with your back leg onto a bench. Try doing those. They are an amazingly hard exercise. They're a progression. You wouldn't start with those. I used to be a massive component of actually barbell squats. I still do them, but I've moved away from, I just don't like that load on my spine, on my back. And I don't do it with a lot of clients anymore. So split squatting is the way to go. I also do pulling and pushing exercises, of course, but with your pulling, there's a vertical pull, like a chin or pull up, or a horizontal pull. You can do inverted rows, barbell rows, single arm dumbbell rows. So bringing two forms of pulling exercises, like I said, vertical or horizontal. Same with your pushing. So a horizontal push and a vertical push. Those vertical push could be cable pushes, that could be med ball throws. Obviously the horizontal pushing could be dumbbell press, barbell press. I like the dumbbell press, it gives you a bit more stability of the shoulders and so forth. And of course, more core activations as well. That would make up the primary positioning and movement patterns of any strength program. Of course, you've also got pressing. Unilateral pressing, bilateral pressing, and then that's another important fact I want to bring up. Don't just be so focused on bilateral movements, and what I mean by bilateral is two legs, two arms at any one time. Look at unilateral movements. The nervous system, more specifically the cerebellum at the back of the brain, which controls movements, the movement core center, works really well with unilateral movements. It adds more stability and actually increases your coordination and balance through the vestibular system of the inner ear. So don't be afraid of unilateral movement. So just to recap, power movements, med balls, Olympic lifts, plyometrics, core stability work, anti-extension, planks, anti-rotations. You've got your hip dominant exercises, your knee dominant exercises, your pushing exercises, your pulling exercises, and your pressing exercises. So really 8 core movement patterns that you should be centering any program around. Don't be so focused on, oh, it's chest day, it's back day, it's shoulder day. Look, if you're a bodybuilder and your only focus is hypertrophy and getting big, fine. But from a performance base, if you're an athlete, you should be looking at actually increasing your increasing your efficiency of movement. And as you increase that efficiency of movement, you're going to become more stronger and more fluent in those movements. And that's what really creates a great athlete. And even if you're not an athlete, but you just want to improve your movement patterns and your daily well-being, why would you work muscles in isolation? We don't walk in isolation. Every muscle works synergetically as a whole global organism, so to speak. So when you train, you should be looking at those movement patterns and trying to emulate those movement patterns. Of course, programming depending on how many days a week, whether it's 2, 3, 4 days a week. If you're going to do 4 days a week, then you'd split those movement patterns probably twice a week. If you're doing 3 days a week, then you might modify some of those movement patterns to probably do it 3 times a week, or maybe an on-off type scenario. Or if you're doing 2 days a week, then you would have to compress all those type of movements in a 2-day program. If you want more information on programming, on how to structure your program and how to assess and what type of exercises you should be looking at, please don't be shy to look us up. We're really happy to help. We can help by correspondence as well. You don't have to be in our local area. We use Skype, Viber, in today's technology with FaceTime or whatever there is, emails. It's pretty easy to get your information out to people. So please look us up on www.strengthofmindbody.com. We're on Facebook, or on Instagram, Strength of Mind Body. Thanks very much.